Hello and welcome to the regular edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. Normally our shows would go out on a Tuesday, but me and Kev were at the game last night, so obviously we couldn't do a show. We'd never get back at civilised time to do a show. Tonight Kev's with me, and we've got a friend from last week as well. Si's back with us as well. I don't know if Phil or anybody else is coming because they've been busy on other shows, and Phil travelled all the way from Frankfurt to see the game, so he might be a bit wrecked. I don't know. So, Si, how are you, mate? How's things in Birmingham?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, all well here. Not too bad, and that the Aston Villa fans have quietened down now after knocking us out of the FA Cup. But excited to talk about a win tonight, which is something we haven't been able to do for the past few weeks, is it?
Have you recovered from the shock?
Yeah, I think so. I think I managed to pull myself up off the floor from us winning. But it's hopefully we can move on from here and push on. But time will tell. Time will tell.
And Kev, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Adrian. Happy birthday to you again. I'm. It's like I said, it was a bit shocking being in the ground last night, let alone watch it on TV or anything like that. So yeah, it's all good at the moment.
Got the winner's hoodie in them from the Europa League, you know what I mean? As it's a European game and a 24th home game without defeat. Don't want to put the mockers on it, of course. Yeah. Well, we'll get into it now. Dortmund 2-0. Si, when you see the lineup, was you surprised by the lineup or any of the selections? Or?
Yeah, not really. I think Adrian. I think he what was it? 12 first-team fit players because Moani was on the bench. I think it was a case for Frank of trying to fit the players into some sort of formation. The only thing that did surprise me was I would have expected Destiny to be maybe the left wing back or on the left wing, and Spence playing as the left centre back, but it was the other way round. But yeah, I mean, it's with what he had pittance to play with, really. So that's all he could pick. So yeah, it's what I expected, Adrian.
Kev, any surprises there for you?
Well, I suppose the only thing was, would Moonai play instead of either Spence or Udogie, depending on how the fitness of those was going. So I suppose it was a bit of a caused a bit of a buzz when everyone saw both Spence and Udogie were in the team. and I see that some people were thinking Spence might go on the right wing, but in the end, it was a very fluid sort of back five almost at the start of the game. Spence and Doggy were swapping around, and then Porro was going up, and Danzo was moving over to the right back place. So it was quite fluid in the first half, anyway. But yeah, I suppose it was only the fact that Moonai being on the bench rather than on the left wing.
It says a lot about his future at the club that Jed Spence was playing left wing instead of him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So
yeah, I agree, guys. I mean, I expected Mooney to start. I thought I didn't expect to see the Doggy Spence on the left combination, but it worked so well though. Well. So we should talk about the subs and then we get into the game. Because of our injury crisis, you can call it. You can look at it in a positive way. That means that like the likes of Gray, Bergvall, Odegaard, Tell, and Xavi have got game time because of this crisis. There is, if you're looking for a small positive, there's a positive there, and it sort of reflects. It also reflects on our bench. I mean, like our Kramaric, Austin, who's homegrown, so I think it's the only reason he's in the squad. Byfield's 17. I mean, like hardy defender, Kinksky again, who can't get a game, might need to go on or whatever. And as you alluded to, Simon Wani on the bench. Alusasi, I mean, these kids, they are a talent when you watch them play in the academy. They are a talent. Rosewell as well. Scarlett, I actually thought Scarlett might have started yesterday as well. He was another one for me. Then Tynham Thompson and Williams Barnett, I mean, they really are in the younger, sort of like down to Byfield, because they're only like 17, 18-year-olds, I just wonder if Byfield at 17, I don't know about UEFA rules, but under for those of you who don't know that are watching, under our British rules, he wouldn't be allowed to change in the changing room because he's 17, not until you're 18, right? So yeah. So, Si, I always go for a synopsis of the game afterwards. I like to do it now. I don't like to kill the conversation, but what was your take on the game? Bright start, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the first half was from the off. We were at it. We looked at it. High press, constantly not giving the Dortmund players a second on the ball. It's what I think the majority of Spurs fans have wanting to be seeing from us previously in previous games in the Premier League. So for us to start like this and keep it for the whole of the first half, to be honest, it was a breath of fresh air. And I think it helped get all the crowd on board straight away. Obviously, in a nutshell, the second half wasn't the greatest. But I think we sort of more managed the game in the second half. But, yeah, we want to build on that first half and we want to see that a lot more. And I thought, I've got to admit, I knock Jed Spence quite a bit. I'm a massive fan of Jed Spence. Especially at left back, but he did well yesterday. Looked really good on that left wing, really causing their right back a lot of issues. But Xavi Simons, I don't know why, whether it's because he has more time in Europe, like in the Champions League, they're not in your face as much as they are in the Premier League. But Xavi Simons yesterday looked quality. He did.
Yeah. Your take on how we approach the game, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, much the same as I was saying, but it was almost a reversal of what we've been doing in recent home games where, we, as you said, we started off fast, we started off with purpose. Both the wingers were roasting the fullbacks, actually going past them. To create the danger, and the pressure, brought the results that we wanted to bring it. Second half, I was very disappointed in the second half, to be honest. We sat back, we let them dictate the game, and if we were playing on the break really in the second half, and that was very, very disappointing. I mean, if we'd maybe scored on those two clear breaks that we had, then perhaps we would have seen a few more of the youngsters on at the end. The first half, I think everyone was, enthusiastic about the first half. The crowd were buzzing, and it was much more like what we've all been looking for, and it's what sort of, they've turned it around, because in the first halves in the West Ham and the Villa games, we've been terrible. And it was only in the second half that we suddenly, struck a light, really, and it was the other way around this time. But it's a shame we couldn't really sort of keep it going for the second half as well, because they were there for the taking, really. I mean, the team, they're second in the German league, they didn't look. When they brought on Emre Can at half time, he started dictating the game a little bit. We didn't really pick him up, and of course we lost Bergvall, so that didn't help.
Have you heard they reckon Bergvall could be out for 3 months?
Yeah, by that German media outlet, who've got a lot of followers, as Gary was saying, because I was watching your show earlier, watching Gary's show, and by that, we'll get over to Project Spurs guys as well. They do great content over there. So I thought, well, let's go into the second half. I'll go through the game in a bit more of a synopsis, but I thought the caution, especially went off. We only had one big goal because Moani was playing out of his skin, right? And you only had really Gray there. It was a very good start for us. We started on the front foot, and second half, I think when we've had the results we've got, Kev, I just thought caution was the watchword second half, basically, because we've had poor results. We just wanted to win, and us being in the stadium, Kev, we wanted 3 or 4, and we could have scored 3 or 4. To be honest,
yeah, we could have. Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit almost, because 2-0's that score, isn't it? They're always, you're a little bit dodgy for, because if they get one, gives them the enthusiasm to get back, and they had a couple of chances. They had a couple of free kicks. We were giving away silly free kicks. I mean, the referee seemed to, every time someone blew on them, they fell over, they got a free kick. I know their guy got sent off as well in the first half. Didn't really see what happened there. All we saw, he miscontrolled the ball, and then he lunged in afterwards. I still haven't even watched it on a replay, so I'm not too sure what it was. But obviously they flashed up on the screen the reasoning behind the red card, the studs. And so, it was, it's a Xavi Simons thing, wasn't it? Yeah. But the second half was, it was frustrating in the stadium, because all the stuff was up the wrong end for me, because I'm down in the south stand. So that all the first half was down, and all of a sudden we're camping in our own bloody penalty area, leaving them gaps, being able to have lots of space and whatever, and not pulling out and filling the space. We were marking, we're 5 players on 1 player, and so they had 3 or 4 wandering around doing nothing. It was frustrating.
Second in the Bundesliga side, they've scored hatfuls of goals in their games. What's happened to Kev there? I don't know. They've scored hatfuls of goals in their games, and they come to us. I'm glad they were disappointing because we won,
Yeah.
But, all this link with Adi Yemi, he did nothing really.
I was going to say he looked non-existent. To be fair, Adrian, I was like, I was watching. I mean, I couldn't make the game. It's a bit of a trek for me late at night and all that. So I was watching it at home, and every chance I got that I could see him, I was looking at that Adeyemi, and he didn't cause us 1 ounce of trouble. So, obviously that's one game. I haven't watched him in many others. So, but I was expecting more of a challenge from Dortmund, and that they surprised me. I mean, obviously we were at it. Out the gates, we were at it, and I just don't think they could, you know, that they could cope with us in that first half, to be honest. I think we were just causing mistakes, putting pressure on them. Because, like, in the European games, the European teams don't do that, do they? Against each other. Here he is, he's back.
Mm-hmm. I think I was twiddling with some cables and I think I disconnected myself.
And Phil's joined us. Oh, go on. Evening, Phil. How are you? Go on. Something you're going to say, so I want to ask Phil about his experience.
One thing I'd like to ask, but now Phil's on as well. the three of you were at the game last night. If, obviously, we sat back a lot in that second half, if we had conceded one from sitting back, do you think the crowd would have turned and started getting on the players' backs and stuff like that again?
Well, as Phil and Kev know, the atmosphere in the stadium was fantastic because what happened was, as they scored, I mean, the crowd were up. Then we scored, they're up even more, and then we're playing well, so they're up all the first half, and like it's sort of like the team bounced off the crowd, and the crowd bounced off the team the first half, and then second half, actually fair play to the crowd because when we sort of dropped off the pace, it was the crowds that were saying, "Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs!" They were trying to G the team up. Like I said earlier before you came on, Phil, I think we're a bit cautious because we just wanted a win after the results we've got recently. I think we're desperate for the win.
I agree. I agree. And I agree. Sorry for joining late, actually.
That's right.
I read a lot, to be honest, I read a lot of anti-Frank stuff, based on the second half performance. And I honestly don't think Frank specifically told the players to kind of properly sit back and defend, like after that first half. But I think I can imagine that at half time they said, look, we're 2-0 up, we're playing well, let's keep that positivity, let's see if we can nick another one, but let's also be clever about it. And the way these players are, the way that they're used to playing football the whole of the season, where on so many occasions they just get deeper and deeper, automatically, which I think is almost a mental thing as well. I think sometimes, again, you've got to put it on the players sometimes. I don't think Frank specifically said, look, tactically we're going to change it second half massively. And in the end, they knew that Dortmund had 10 men and there'd be space on the break. And, we should have scored 2-3 goals in that second half, on top. And we just couldn't, because we couldn't either do the final pass, or Moani, he had that awful finish where he just hit it straight at the keeper, like in the World Cup final. That Porro thing where all he had to do was either pass it across and it's a goal, or he could have had a shot as well, right? If he really wanted to.
What was he waiting for?
He didn't either. But again, I think I don't want to. I think we all know what our feelings are on Frank and stuff. But I think sometimes you have to give the guy a bit of, a bit of credit and also a bit of be realistic. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I think the players often get it. They mentally just can't. I don't know what it is. They felt comfortable again, and I don't know. I think you need more. I think you still need other people in the team. Like leaders in the team. Who are also able themselves on the pitch to kind of say, what, we've got to go out and we just got to do a bit more, maybe.
Yeah, we got dragged back into almost having 7 along the bloody penalty area, and leaving them lots of space, letting them dictate. But as you say, if either of those 2 or 3 chances, any of those had gone in, everyone would have been
game over.
And it would have been, there would have been less criticism of Frank and how the team set up. But but we're playing with bare bones, aren't we? So it was a difficult game, and you've got to give them credit for the way they did play in the first half. Really got to give them a lot of credit.
You can find here at Frankfurt Spurs.
If I've got one criticism of that second half, we just didn't utilise that extra man. Do you know what I mean? Like we had the extra man for what? The whole game, probably about an hour, was it? The whole game. And I just don't think we utilised it. It didn't even look like we had an extra man at the end of the day, really, to be honest.
Right, just you can find Phil's just come on. He's a regular on our show, but and you can find him at Frankfurt Spurs. So get over to there, and also you can find Phil over at Project Spurs as well. Gary and Callum are as well, and they're regular friends, and they appear on the show as well. So get over to and subscribe to those guys. You know, they give you good content, right? So right, let's get out of it. So Phil, what was your? I mean, for those I just mentioned, Phil flew in from Frankfurt to watch the game. What was your experience? How was the journey? And
yeah, the journey was good. I mean, I mentioned on Project Spurs actually earlier. You know, ever since I moved to Germany, I only get to probably about 4 or 5 home games a season. Probably if we were doing better in the league, generally, then I'd try and add a couple on top of that, but. It's just a couple of games really a season. So if every time I come over for a game, there's still a bit more something special about it, So you kind of try and get as much value out of it as possible, So I always get off at Seven Sisters like I always did in the old days at the old lane anyways, and do the long walk, all the way to the stadium, kind of half an hour, right? And just see all the shops and, smell the hot dog vans, which again remind of the old stadium. Unfortunately, they're not quite as cheap as they used to be. The hot dog van behind the shelf used to be my favorite, by the way. There used to be a little school there, wasn't there? Like with a pitch. But yeah, like it's always good. And those games under the floodlights midweek, in Europe, there's nothing better. It always seems louder to me. In the dark, like the atmosphere is somehow closer to you. The all white kit, still gets me every time. I just love the all white when we play like that, obviously in Europe. And yeah, the whole thing's just an experience. So I always try and get as much out of it as possible. I admit, obviously, before the game, I didn't expect us to win, to be honest. And I think like a lot of fans, I was hopeful that we'd at least, obviously turn up and play okay, and then see what happens, right? But I didn't expect us to do what we did in that first half. So I think it's fair to say that, in that first 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, I was literally on cloud 9, and I was probably going a bit maybe overboard or hyping, but I was just there, like just every attack that we did, it was like, oh my god, this is like how it's supposed to be again. This is what we should be watching. This is why we all all came to the lane. When in the old days when we were kids, when we started supporting Spurs, and we used to dream of this, and everyone around me was the same. Everyone was like, wow, this is like. These moves, like there's actually some progressive passing through the midfield, like what's happening there on the wing, like they're all moving around and there's runners down the wing. Wow. So I think everyone was just like delighted in that first half. And yeah, like, I mean, in the end we won the game, right? And the second half wasn't quite as good, but we should have scored another 3 goals. And there were some highlights from the second half, obviously, which probably you still talk about anyway, some individual things. Byfield, nice to see him, get on and all those things, right? So back to winning ways, a bit of positivity for a change. Because West Ham...
I'll stay with you because you are in Frankfurt and we have qualified for the playoffs already. But if we went out of Frankfurt, I don't know if they're still managerless. You'll know more about that because you're in Frankfurt. Are you near the stadium? I mean, that's one game you won't have to fly to get to the home ground.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me to get to the stadium. The stadium's kind of on the south side of Frankfurt, like in the forest. Mm-hmm. So anyone who's ever been to the Frankfurt Stadium is quite unique because they built it in the middle of the city forest. So you got to walk through very, very big forests, like woods on both sides to get to the stadium. I think there has been, probably not now. In the old days, you normally see a lot of, obviously, people who've been imbibing on lots of beer and stuff, in the woods after the games. It's nice in the summer there going to the games because when it's hot, you know, in April, May, then, you know, they put up beer stands and bratwurst stands in the woods, and they've got live music and stuff, you know, so it's a good vibe. But
what are the ticket prices?
are much cheaper than, you know. I mean, you know, the thing in Germany is, anyways, and even at Frankfurt, like if you want to stand, so if you want to go on the terraces, you know, and it's obviously not safe, so they've got a massive standing terrace. Well, every team in the Bundesliga and in the second Bundesliga has got one end where the whole of it is standing, and then the away fans have got a little standing section as well. But their ticket prices are extremely cheap. So a season ticket on the terraces you can get for about 150 quid. And in fact, just as a proof, I think the Spurs tickets, so for any of our away fans going there, is 15 quid ticket. Yeah, so we've got a couple of tickets at, you know, face value, 15 quid. And if you want to sit up above, I think it's about 40 quid. You know, and if you want a seat in the stadium for a Bundesliga game, or even for European game, like half decent seat, you're not paying more than 50 euros, unless if you're in the, you know, like in the kind of the executive kind of areas, you know, and I say the boring areas, but where no one sings and stuff, you know. So it's significantly cheaper, but everything's cheaper. Food and drink, you know, and like, you know, I saw at the stadium yesterday, pizza's 13 quid, fish and chips for a mini portions, 13 quid. You know, a hot dog is like, you know, a tenner essentially, and there at the ground you're paying 4 quid for a bratwurst, you know, for a sausage. So that's the thing where Germany, from a footballing culture perspective, I would say it respects the fans more, you know, because the fan experience is anyways more affordable, you know, and I think for a lot of fans, especially like more the ultra fans, you know, ultras are always, you know, they kind of mix that with hooligans, right? So you get a lot of ultra fans who are kind of, you know, there is a hooligan element, right? Probably in each club, right? But the ultras who live and die with a club, because of the ticket prices and everything else, for a lot of them, that is their life. You know, you see all of them with their you know, they all wear leather jackets with badges on, and they got 10 scarves wrapped around them, you know, and they live and breathe. That's all they almost like exist for, you know, and those prices just make football much more accessible also for families. I think when you compare it to what a family would have to pay to go to that game yesterday, right, including club shop, travel on the trains and the tube, it's like it's hundreds of quid. Crazy. Different culture.
I've heard that about German football, like the pricing and stuff like that. Does that go the same for, like, say, Bayern Munich, who are one of the biggest clubs in Europe? Are they roughly the same prices, season tickets and tickets there, or?
Pretty much. I mean, but Bayern will be a bit more expensive just because it's Bayern, and you know, they're always sold out, and you know, the Bayern fan experience is a bit different to the rest of the Bundesliga. You know, like if you go to watch a Bayern Bundesliga game, then literally 75 to 80% of the fans there wouldn't even sing a single song. You know, or you know, they it's almost like going to the cinema. For a lot of people there, like they just sit there and, you know, they got 2 chants, that's it, and they kind of clap a bit and stuff, which is why the Bayern Munich fans they get a lot of jokes in Germany. You know, it's a kind of like, they call it FC Hollywood, right? It's like going to cinema to watch all this bunch of like kind of you know, like Galacticos kind of thing. But still there, I think if you get a standing ticket, it's probably not that much more. You probably get a season ticket there for 250 or something on the terraces, you know. But then Bayern make all of their money. Bayern make all of their money from their sponsorship deals, you know, from their global TV deals, you know, from their shirt sales. Their gate receipts are probably a very, you know, small percentage of their revenue, you know. So.
Si, do you think that? I mean, it's interesting when Phil talks about standing. I mean, after the disasters of football and the Scarman report, we went to all-seater stadiums over here. Do you think that sort of killed the atmosphere, at least when fans stand or move about and do something, or what? Do you think it's killed the atmosphere at stadiums?
Yeah, I think it has. It has a little bit. I mean, when the grounds were all standing and that, I mean, the atmosphere was just unbelievable, wasn't it? So, I think it has killed the atmosphere a little bit. One thing regarding, just as an example, our ground, obviously, Old White Hart Lane. I mean, that was seats as well, but you couldn't beat how close we were to the pitch at White Hart Lane. I think that that adds a lot towards the atmosphere. You look at some of the grounds now that have got running tracks around them. You're a mile away from the pitch. We do quite well in our stadium. That we're actually still quite close in our new stadium, but you couldn't beat White Hart Lane for being on the pitch. I don't know about you guys, but you felt like you could actually push the players forward and stuff like that because you were literally on top of them. And yeah, I love White Hart Lane.
I remember games when I was sat around the edge of the pitch. There were so many in there. You've only had like a yard of cinder around the outside. I mean, they had to force the park lane in back with fencing when there was all the trouble at football to stop people throwing stuff at the opposing goalkeeper, right? And
the curve bit in, didn't they?
yeah, put the curve bit in. Yeah, so yeah, I think they're trying hard to fix the atmosphere at the stadium. If it's like last night, I mean, what we would like is the atmosphere that we had when we beat Arsenal 3-0 at the stadium. And that's the loud. I thought the roof was going to come off. And it just boomed for 90 minutes, you know. It helped that we got early goals, penalty, and Matey got sent off. So that was good. Right.
I think Adrian, sorry. I think it goes with an atmosphere. It goes either way, doesn't it? I mean, we have to do our bit, but it is also up to the players to give us something.
They have to lift us at times, yeah, because we can be exhausted, like trying to cheer the team on, and at times when a few results haven't gone, come on, you've got to lift up as well. It's all right running around throwing your hands up to get us going. Yeah, we're exhausted, we're drained, right?
Yeah.
So we all sing.
Yeah, totally agree.
You got blokes my age singing their heads off, you know what I mean? So anyway, go back to you, Kev, on the game. 14 minutes, corner. 1-0, Porro corner. Odebert, who slammed it across the goal, and Romero.
Well, both goals had their elements of luck, didn't they? Because Odebert's first kick basically sliced it up in the air to himself, didn't he? But then it was a good cross, and Romero scored. But Porro's corners against West Ham were abysmal. But this one and some of the others he put in were much better this time. So that makes all the difference. You know, if you put in a good corner, then there's always going to be a bit of confusion caused in the area, and you've got a good chance. So yeah, and Odebert recovered well from his first effort to slam it across, and yeah, it was a good start. A good start.
How did you see it, Phil? I mean, Kev's in the south stand. I'm in the east upper, but I'm right up the high as you can be in the east upper, but I'm right next to the south stand, right? You know. So where were you? You were in the east, weren't you? I think someone said was you in the east?
Yeah, I was in the east, kind of near where Gary often sits, so like kind of towards the corner of the north, I guess. So other end to the south.
Near their supporters, basically.
Yeah, kind of opposite, like opposite that corner. They were actually quite loud, the supporters. I mean, there's Dortmund, like that's probably what you expect. They were quite loud at the beginning of the game, but I think our fast start and the fact that we scored obviously relatively early in the game kind of got them a bit down actually, and you could see them chanting and stuff actually. But stadium was loud, like from the Tottenham fans. I couldn't really hear the Dortmund fans after that. One thing about the new stadium, and think, and I've sat, all around the ground, upper, lower so far, and is that even when you've got a lower attendance like yesterday, the sound still echoes, in the stadium. So as long as there's enough people, to start a chant or enough people join in, even, you still get a really kind of loud experience.
It's designed to do that. Apparently, the acoustic engineers for the U2 concert, the rock band, apparently they gave advice on this. I don't know if that's just a myth or true, but you can tell with the acoustics, even if you're 10,000 less than full capacity, it just seems you get a different sort of echoing boom around the shell of the stadium. It's different.
Have you ever done the stadium tour?
Yeah, because if you go up on the skywalk, they get you to shout when you're at the top, and you get the echo back up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only a handful of you, isn't there? Like 10, and it echoes, and you can hear it then. It's unbelievable design. Unbelievable. All
right, I'll stay with you there, Sire, because you would have been watching the game home on television. When this happened, I didn't have a clue. I just thought it was a foul. And Kev was probably he'd probably see even less than I did. And I've got a sideways view. And Phil, I don't know, Danny's, and if you see anything. So how was it shown on the TV?
Yeah, I mean, when it happened, the camera was quite far out. So, like you said, Adrian, I just thought it was a foul. Yeah, yellow card. I thought that was the end of it. And to be fair, the commentator and that they didn't make much of it. It's only once the commentator got word that it was VAR were looking at it, and then they showed it close up. And yeah, it was a red in my eyes. He could have pulled out of it, but he left it studs up just below the knee. I know the bear. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think as soon as he went to the monitor, the referee, the lad knew. He didn't mean it, but he knew he was going to be going. So yeah, it was a definite red.
Kev, it reminded me of the Johnson getting sent off before he's gone to Palace now. And I just, when I looked at it, I didn't think much of it. But you have to look at the recklessness and the intent. And there was a double intent on his boot. His boot's up, and then he not only does him down the back of the calf, like he then does his heel on the secondary movement. So it was intent. He wanted to stop the player and bring him down. Right? But I didn't see that at the game. I thought
he just looked at the game as if he lost control of the ball, sort of lunged out, and we didn't think anything of it where we were. We just thought I didn't even see him put out a yellow card to start off with, to be honest. I must have been looking somewhere else. But and then all of a sudden it comes up on the old big screens, VAR, and as soon as that happens with a potential red card, you're thinking, well, that's it, he's off, isn't he? No, around us, no one had an inkling. Not even an inkling of why, but then everyone was on their phones to people like Si at home saying, "What's going on? What's going on?"
The one thing I saw was when the referee went to the monitor, as always, they paused it as he's walking up there. They paused it on the actual part when he stood connecting with his leg, and
it's a red then.
The issue with VAR, it just looks so bad when you're walking in, you're the ref, you walk to the screen and you see that straight away. In normal time, it wasn't as bad. It was still a red, but because they pause it on the actual contact, it always looks really bad. And
it always looks worse in slow motion. Anything on VAR looks worse in slow motion.
And it always puts it, I've said this before on other podcasts, as soon as they tell the referee to go and view the monitor, it puts a doubt in the referee's mind. And he's 99% of the time he's going to overturn the decision. All the fans know that now because you hear him cheer as soon as he does the old VAR thing, and everyone knows what's coming, don't they?
How did you see it from your position, Phil? Did you think nothing of it or what?
Yeah, I've got to admit, I kind of missed it. I saw it out of the corner of my eye because I don't want to admit to WhatsApping, whilst watching the live game in the stadium, right? Because you want to focus. You're in the stadium, right? You want to focus on the thing. But I was so happy. I was so happy with the way that we were playing that I couldn't stop myself but to to message God knows how many people in the groups on D saying, I'm in the stadium and we're back. You know, like this is like watching fantasy Spurs or something, right? Just because there was so much positivity in that little 20-minute thing. And then I was doing it, and then I looked up and I just saw this kind of tackle. And yeah, to be honest, from where I was, I couldn't really see anything. I thought it was just an innocuous, challenge. And then everyone thought that it was just a foul or something. And then the play would restart. And then suddenly the checking, it went up on the big screen, didn't it? Like checking a potential red card or whatever. And we were like, what? So like, we didn't even see the replay. I think I didn't even see the replay until
they don't show the replays of the red cards in the stadium. So
okay, well, stay with you, Phil, on this, because you know when your luck's changed, right? 37 minutes, 2-0. Odeberg cross, his second assist, by the way. Ricochets off Solanke, bounced between both his heels, really, and rolled in the net. And we're all blowing the ball in the net, Ryan. Go on, because it seemed so slow.
Well, it's a contender for the Puskas award, isn't it?
Yeah.
In some shape or form.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was like slow motion, like literally, wasn't it? Like it was dribbling towards the towards the thing. And I actually thought it was going wide. I thought it was just gonna literally just go wide, and then it just seemed to go in just in front of us. Yeah, and it was like, look, I mean, the thing is, like, Odeberg was so good in that first half. Obviously it was a lucky deflection or whatever, or contact and goal in the end, but it came from, Odeberg putting in another cross. And in that phase, it just seemed like he was beating his man every single time, getting behind the defense and actually pulling the ball back, something that we haven't seen, for God knows how long, right? Like good crosses, not just crosses from Kudus, like from, out there somewhere, but like getting right back into that byline. And because he was positive, because he put that ball in, that's how the goal came about, just like with the first goal, right? To be honest. So, and I'm just happy for Solanke, like obviously to come back after, the pain that he's gone through, right? Any goal just gives him that extra boost, takes the monkey off his back. If he was to go like 5 or 6, games without a goal, could have got a bit tricky, but he's got it. He's got a Champions League goal. And at that point, I thought maybe we can go on to make it, 3-0 or something before half time,
Kev, I mean, Solanke's such a good player to play off of, isn't he?
I mean,
he's composed number 9. He just holds that as the pivot to play off him or whatever.
So yeah, he's going to say,
he's the best one we've got. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to agree with I was going to say Solanke made a massive difference, didn't he, Kev?
Massive.
Yeah. I mean, everything was sort of revolving around him. We had a target man. We had someone who could hold the ball up, someone who would lay the ball off, who would press all the time. I was one of the ones who thought that perhaps they'd made a mistake by swapping him and Tell out for this game. Could have left it to the Frankfurt game on the basis we weren't going to win this one. Left it for the Frankfurt game where we really would have needed him. But, I ate my words halfway through the game on the WhatsApp because he was the difference in the way we've been playing. All of a sudden we had someone who was moving as well. We've been lack of movement up front. We fell a little back into that, but there was so much more movement. And as Odeberg was going past their fullback, Spence was going past the other fullback as if he wasn't there as well. So both of the wingers were doing what they should be doing. And
there was one point when I was yelling at Porro, he's not going to hear me, but we do this, don't we, as fans, because he's cut in the middle when Odeberg was free on the right, and Odeberg roasting, I don't know who was defending there, and I thought, and that's what an IB against West Ham, because he's got more pace than he showed against West Ham. I mean, he's not slow. I don't know how fast the West Ham fullback. I think, was it Carl Walker-Peters? No, on that side, I can't remember. But and I thought you should have been doing that against West Ham as well, because I think that's the best game Odeberg's had in the Spurs shirt.
Regarding Odegaard, is he left-footed or right-footed? Because I know we played him on the left most of the time.
He's right.
But
he's right.
He looked so natural. He looked so natural on that right yesterday. He looked really comfortable.
I mean, and when you watch Tel and Odegaard play for the French under-21s, they are devastating. But they are playing other under-21 players. Bear that in mind. Do you know what I mean? But they look class, and that's why. I mean, we don't want to. I mean, we've still got too many injuries, but everybody says, "Oh." I mean, Tell's played that well recently. We've all been annoyed with Frank subbing him off in the last couple of games. And Odegaard, you can see it's there. I mean, he come from PSG Academy, and Vincent Kompany raved about him when he was at Burnley before he left for Bayern Munich. And when you watch him in other games, you can see the players there. Well, come on, you've got to give us more. And it's there. It's there, though. It is there. It's there. Right? So, I mean, yeah. But maybe he'll kick on now. Maybe he'll kick on now with all these injuries. Who knows? You know.
Imagine if Brennan had been playing there last night. With the greatest respect to Brennan, you know, we hope he goes on and has a good career and stuff. But he would not have been able to do what Odegaard did in that first half an hour. He would probably have gone. Maybe he'd have gone past the player once, you know, and got a ball in or something. But he would not have consistently done it. You know, and Odegaard is someone, as you said, Adrian, like, you know, Odegaard and Tel are so highly rated, and they do it every time for France under 21s. Tel's been made under 21s captain. He's under 21 captain, right? So that also shows, you know, the attitude of Tel, right?
But play every game, that's what he's got to say.
Yeah, but they're best mates, you know, and I just hope that, you know, regardless of what happens with Frank for the rest of the season, and that we obviously manage to make sure that Tel's happy and he obviously stays, you know, that we don't ruin that. But those lads, I mean, both of them, there's so much potential there. You know?
Odegaard scored against Villa, lovely goal, right? Tel played on the left of right. He'd like to play as a 9, but against Leeds away, he scored on the right-hand side. Then he scores on the left-hand side, and he scores a penalty. And we just want to see a bit more of him, because these kids, they're brave, and like they want to take players on as well, right? Although I think Odegaard should do it a bit more. Tel's doing it a bit more than Odegaard's doing it. Like, you know, so that's all good. Yeah, that's so 2-0. And then we sort of, like you say, the second half. I mean, I get it, but these were there for the taking at 2-0, even, weren't they? Kev, they were there for the taking, really. 10 minutes.
Yeah, it felt that way because, I mean, we had another small chance towards the end of the first half, didn't we, which didn't go anywhere. Then they made 2 substitutions at half-time, Borussia, and brought on Emre Can, didn't they? And he seemed to start to dictate the game a little bit, and we were giving them too much respect, I think, especially as only had 10 men. And we were playing on the break, and we should have scored playing on the break as well, as we've said earlier. You know, maybe 2, maybe even 3 goals on the break with very good chances. That
Moani had a good chance.
He did. He had a good chance, and then he took it a little bit. He was very close to the keeper for the second one when he hit the ball for the second one. And we know it was right opposite where I stand. And he was very close to the keeper for that one. So, you know, the keeper made a good save. But Porro should have crossed the ball or shot. We were all shouting, shoot, as he was going down that line. You know, and he must have been able to hear us, because virtually the whole of South Stand was shouting. And he didn't. He just sort of fell over.
Next to me, he's going, there was a couple of times where, like, we just wanted to touch and then get the shot off. He was shouting, why don't they just get their laces through and just hit the ball, right?
Yeah,
we put in a penalty area a couple of times when we could have got a shot off. Just hit it, you know?
Yeah. Obviously, it's a bit hard. Where I'm in the South Stand, but I'm on very close to the West Stand, so I'm looking at directly across the penalty area. And so when they're on the edge of the area, it's very hard to see whether or not they're being blocked off or anything like that. But Xavi Simons had a couple like that, where he was dancing across the area and he didn't pull the trigger and shoot. You know, he didn't really test their keeper. too much in there, and they didn't test ours either. But it was a very frustrating second half, and I kept screaming at them, "You're too deep, you're too deep." Move out.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
We weren't putting any pressure on their their playmakers. We just weren't putting any pressure on.
You can see what a player. He's got such good vision, Sivens. He's so quick to see things. There was a couple of times he did the Endomi slip to just to dummy a player and just be away from him. I mean, he is absolute quality. His vision and his passing. Sometimes he tries to do too much and he loses the ball. And I thought, if you want to settle in the Premier League, don't try and do too much and let the ball do the work. Do the passing, because you can pass the ball. He's quick vision and the ball's out to the right-hand side or left or whatever he does there. On 62 minutes, Byfield for Bergvall. How did you see Byfield on the TV?
Yeah, I'd seen him on the play some of the under-21 games and that for us, and the under-18s, and I was glad to see him come on. Obviously, I didn't know. I heard after I watched the interview on the Spurs sites, that he was told that he would be coming on, that he would be playing some part, so he was aware of that, but he didn't know. They said it could be centre back, left centre back, or right wing back. So he didn't know. So he wouldn't have known until a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes before he came on. But he didn't look out of place, did he?
No.
He looked pretty decent. Coped well. And one thing I liked was one of their players tried to give him a little bit.
He's not small.
And he just gave it him back.
But, yeah.
And I'm sitting there at the time watching it, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this lad is he's not afraid or anything, and he's the same age as my daughter, and here he is playing for Spurs. And I was thinking, he doesn't look bothered, he's not scared. And in his interview, he said, I just treated it like another game, like a game of football, which I guess you've got to, but he's our youngest ever Champions League player now, isn't he? So good on him.
He started off as a striker. I could be wrong, but he showed a maturity beyond his years, Phil, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked really comfortable, and what I really liked was the crowd. What I really liked was the crowd, because when he obviously got subbed in, he got a big cheer anyways, one of our own and this kind of stuff. But every time he won a header, or did something, got an interception, there was a lot of cheering and clapping, like specifically towards him. And I was glad that the crowd really supported him in that, because it would have been a very nerve-wracking for him, right? Making his debut against Dortmund in the Champions League under the lights, 2-0, right? We concede a goal, then it's panic stations as usual. And he was fine, and he's he's a big lad, isn't he? But he seems to be technically, pretty good. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's actually a centre back, isn't he? Yeah. So again, bear in mind he doesn't even play right back properly. He did really well, but I think that if he, actually played centre back, then he'd be solid. A bit like Danzo, how Danzo was winning every header. Yesterday Danzo didn't put a foot wrong. No. Danzo was Mr. Dependable yesterday, but I got the feeling Byfield reminded me just a bit of Danzo, in terms of how he was kind of a bit no nonsense. He got stuck in, played it simple. And he's 17 and he hasn't even got a pro. I don't think he's even got a pro contract, does he?
You can't sign once you're 18.
Yeah.
At 16, I think you can sign a 2-year scholarship with a 1-year professional contract on the end of it. Kev, we're not short of centre backs, and the crappy low-tier media keep linking us with defenders, don't they? I mean, we've got Phillips is smashing at Stoke, Dorrington's at Aberdeen, Vuskovic. I've had this conversation with Bill before. In every metric, I think he's better than Dancer, and Dancer was outstanding yesterday. And I think Si alluded to on Gary's show earlier, I think Dancer would be a non-complaining Ben Davies type of player in the squad. I actually think technically even Byfield's better than him, right? So like, yeah. So, but like, look, you know, I'll support every player at the football club, and I think Danso was, I mean, like, he was a bargain anyway. He was a bargain signing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's almost calling out for us to play 5 at the back or 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, isn't it? At the moment, with it's for next season, if Vuskovic comes back, everyone's sort of thinking, you know, well, he probably won't go straight into the team, but he'll be in the squad, won't he? And Danso, as you say, has been every time he comes on, Danso, you know, the odd little slip here and there, but in the main, he's been solid, and you know, picks up. He's good in the air. Obviously, you've got his long throw, which we can utilise sometimes as well. So you know, he's a good all-round player. But we got the capability there in that back line. It's just sometimes it's a bit lacking just in front of the back line, and we let them through. Porro gets a bit out of position or something like that. But it's when that happened, that substitution, and Porro got pushed into midfield. You know, I was almost thinking, no, if we'd had put Romero in midfield and Byfield in centre back there, but you know, well, Porro did a reasonably good job when he got into midfield, apart from back to not crossing.
I remember at the beginning of the season, everyone was screaming, "Oh, we want to see Graham Bergvall and midfield together. We want to see Graham Bergvall at midfield." Now you got Xavi with it. It's like a future midfield for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Look, really, obviously, Frank's hands were forced. Those are the only real the midfielders he could play, but it worked really well. I said what I liked about Gray is, he was more the holding midfielder, the defensive midfielder, but he's not as defensive minded as a Polinia and stuff like that. So he would still, you know, venture forward a little bit, but instead of having that double pivot, we had just Archie Gray, and Lucas Bergvall's more of an attacking midfielder. So that gave us, in my opinion, more options in attack. And I think that's why we, you know, another reason why we opened Dortmund up like we did, because they had to cope with more players attacking them than if we've got a Polini or a Bentancur in midfield. So, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Lucas Bergvall. Gutted if the timeline of his injury is true. He's had a stop-start season. But for me, along with, it looks like Vuskovic when it comes, I think we've got 2 potential world-class players on our books if all goes well for them, really.
Phil, I noticed that Bergvall started on the right instead of the left side of the midfield yesterday, although he does wander.
I to be honest with you, when the game started, I had no idea what the formation was, and I had no idea where the players were playing, because Spence was on the. I don't know. We thought Spence was playing on the right initially, I think, or something, and then he was kind of on the left. But yeah, he was then on the other side. They switched across. Xavi was down there. Udogi was on the other side. Bergvall was very deep, but yeah, as you said, on the other side of midfield, it was very confusing. And then obviously it kind of just settled a bit, didn't it? And then you could kind of see that it was a back 3 with Archie kind of coming deep on duration. Look, I mean, with Bergvall, you know, if these injury rumours, like if it's true that he's going to miss 2-3 months or something, then it's a real shame, because he got a lot of game time last season, didn't he, under Ange in the end, and he really impressed, actually. And
young player of the year.
And
Gray started off last season with more games than him, because Gray was playing left back, right back, centre back, all that. And Bergvall, the latter part of the season, he really started to develop and step up, didn't he? That was what it was, and that caught everyone's eye. You know, he's player.
And this season, it's kind of been a bit stop-start. I mean, like it has for us anyways, but he's never really had, like, 5 or 6 games kind of in his preferred position, right in midfield, with a stable partner kind of next to him, or a stable team, I guess, really, because it's all been so up and down. So it's a shame, but I hope that I hope it's not as bad as that. But I think we're going to see the best. We're going to see a Bergvall that's even better next season. Once he's again had a kind of summer break, and is more kind of settled, in London and all this kind of stuff. And theoretically, Bergvall he's so perfect for the Premier League because he's technically so strong, but he is actually quite robust. He can. I think he needs to improve his tackling overall, but he wins a lot of 50-50s. He goes in. He goes in for those, and he's pretty tall, right? He's bigger than you, as a guy, right? He's more significant, right, than you might think. But I just think we haven't got the best out of Bergvall yet, still, because if you look at his reels, from when he was still in Sweden, admittedly, obviously at much lower level, he was dribbling. He was winning the ball and dribbling it around, and strolling out of midfield. He's not box to box like that, but I just think there's still a lot more to come from Bergvall, and I hope that we can keep him getting enough game time. We know we need to improve our squad. We know we probably still we need this kind of deep lying playmaker, as they all call it nowadays. This top class. Whether it's Adam Wharton or Angelo Stiller or whoever else it might be, that Elliot Anderson kind of player. I think we still need that, but with the amount of midfielders we've got in the team or in the squad, I just hope that Bergvall can still.
Well, there's been links with
through.
Metcha now, and as I said earlier to Kev when we was having a chat before the show started, I said, look, all you fans out there, there's 160 of you viewing this now, which is fantastic midweek. Links now from low media tier outlets with players is a bit late in the day because we should have our targets listed and going for them. So any new names that are put up the frame for me, I think I'm not having it. It's simply because it's too late. We should have targets now during Frank's crisis, when all the talk's been about Frank. Our recruitment team should be working on getting a couple of deals done before this window closes, by the way, on the 2nd of February at 7 p.m. UK time, which is 13 days, is it? 13 days. So we've got 2 weeks, and just under 2 weeks to get new signings in. Kev, Moani for Solanke.
Adrian.
Go on.
Sorry, can I just jump in?
Yeah,
I just saw one of the comments about Polinia from David Clark, I think, saying he's a top class player, which I agree. I mean, when I said about the midfield, for me, it's a double pivot that doesn't work. I definitely have Polinia as a defensive midfielder, and then have a Bergvall or and the Xavi. It's having the two defensive midfielders for me that doesn't work.
Well, the midfield's been a problem all season for me. We're always taught that most games are won in lost midfield, and we've lost games too much because our midfield at times has been all over the show, disjointed.
Can I just make one very quick comment on Paulina again? Just one very quick one. I think we discussed it maybe even last week or 2 weeks ago, but there was that one game, was it even Villa in the second half, where we were all debating whether the players had just kind of ripped up the tactics and gone out there to kind of make things happen. And in that half, Paulina had almost a free role.
Yeah,
he wasn't just sitting there as a defensive midfielder. He was actually taking. Yeah, he wanted to get on the ball and actually, do something with it and chase it down. And I do like Paulina. I still question whether we'll end up signing him permanently because and by the way, I would have no issue if we didn't sign him permanently because I still believe I really like him and he's that defensive midfielder, but
the warrior.
I think we need more. I still think for us starting team, probably we need more of an all-round, like like an attacking midfielder, but someone who's robust, you know. So again, really that kind of deep lying playmaker profile, because people like Palhinha, they certainly help in some games. Again, if you're going away to Man City or, you know, away to Anfield or something, I think they bring us more anyways. But do you know what I mean? Like, he looked for me much better when you just said, look, do you know what? You just kind of go and do what you want. Whereas if you want him to play in a structure, I don't know if he's got enough ability on the ball to.
He showed more legs
do you know what I mean?
in the game than I've seen from him, and he's had good games before that. He showed more legs about him, because the question with him's been by his critics is like, he doesn't get about the pitch as much. He's not going to get left or right and close things. He's very good central. He's very good going up for set pieces, but anyone can go up for a set piece. You know, you only usually leave one on the halfway line. So like, and good. No, he's been very good, but I said to Gary, I think a couple of weeks ago, I said to him, like, my gut instinct tells me if we've got to bring players into this squad, players have got to go. You know, Basuma will go. Richarlison probably go in the summer. Davis will be going. And I just think Sarr will go. And I think that, like, Paulina may not make the cut either.
It'll cost 30 million, right? Something like that. And I would rather save that 30 million and then put that money on top of another 20, 30, 40 million, and then get a 60, 70 million pound player, if that makes any sense. Because I think,
look, he's a good squad player, but we don't know what the shape of the squad's going to be after this transfer window, and we don't know.
Who'll be in charge.
Have good games. Then players get the kudos and praise when they play well, and when they don't play so well, we critique them, right? Which is fair. At the end of the season, he's got to be assessed on his performances throughout the season. Not one. We've done this so many times at Spurs. We're all so forgiving with Serge Aurier. But when suddenly he's shit and then he plays a good game, I'll keep him. He's good. Then he's crap again. Nah. We've got to start being ruthless. You know.
We miss a Moussa Dembele, don't we, in the middle of the pitch?
Do we? A ball carrying midfielder, yes, please.
Yeah.
Right. Kev. Where are we? Let's go with that. 70 minutes. Muani comes on for Solanke.
Yeah, shame it wasn't Scarlett coming on. But yeah, I mean, Solanke lasted longer than I thought he was going to do, but he was obviously struggling towards the end. He wasn't winning the balls as they were coming to him. So it was an obvious substitution, but I was hoping Scarlett might come on. There in the middle, but there you go. Muani came on and did Muani type things. Flashes of good and flashes of not really looking committed. But our pressing wasn't good in that second half, and Solanke was doing a lot of it on his own without the backup behind him, because everyone was sitting so deep. And I think that's probably what knackered him out, all his running around that he does in that respect. But it's all good. It's good minutes under his belt, isn't it? You know, and we're going to need him next week in the Frankfurt game. So that's all good there. You know, it was going to happen. But Solanke, you know, I would have almost put him in the first half. He was man of the match in the first half. There's no two ways about it.
We'll come to that later, man, of the match, because I've got 6 for you. I think 6 players I picked. But it's not happening for Solanke, is it, Phil? It's just not happening. I mean, and I like the player. I've seen him before. I've watched videos of him
Muani, you mean? Muani.
Sorry, yes, I mean, sorry. It's just not happening for him. And unless there's a big turnaround, we're not trying to take. He might not want us to come on loan to us, but to be fair, he hasn't done enough to get that loan deal turned permanent anyway, has he? I mean,
I'm really disappointed with Kolo Muani, because, you know, as you know, I watched him here in Frankfurt for a season. Watched quite a lot of live games, you know, where he just destroyed defenders, you know, and there is a player in there, you know. I think one thing that's true about him is that in his career he's been a bit inconsistent, and he certainly was a bit of a late bloomer. You know, Frankfurt sold him when he was 25 to Paris. So before he was 23, he didn't really do that much at the top level, you know. So, but he's still a player in there, you know. He still gets games for France, you know. Like you can see when he's on it, and there was like that PSG game, you know, where he probably had something to prove, or you know, there was a couple of other games where you saw flashes. You know, you can see that he's got that extra yard of pace, you know, where he can take it past the player and finish quite well. But he's not shown any of that. And like we said, I think he wasn't fit for the first couple of months. You could see he just wasn't fit. He couldn't run. Like, it's not that he didn't want to run, he just couldn't run, like literally. But unfortunately, he's not kicked on from there, and it's going downhill. And I mean, what happened on yesterday evening, like that, you know, he was doing it before that. But like the thing, I mean, that thing when there was that ball that went in the corner, and he just stopped. He just stopped running.
I
And
think
then
he was offside. He was offside because he was up level with us, and when he started running, he and the ball was going out. He was offside. That's why he stopped.
Okay, well, maybe. Okay, in that case, I'm being very unfair towards him, and a lot of other fans are as well. Because
that's all right. We're often unfair to Spurs players.
because most of the because the angle where we were, you know, it just looked like he gave up. And then, to be honest,
but after, he was definitely offside.
Fair enough for that one. But then he just, for the rest of that half when he was on, he didn't go into any challenges. He was kind of just shadowing players like this, you know, he wasn't engaging. He just stopped running. He just looked like he was so disinterested, lack of confidence, lost, you know, and I think it's pretty clear that he's just not bothered. I don't think he wants to be there, really. He's not landed at the club for whatever reasons, you know, for whatever reasons it is, but he just hasn't found his, you know, he hasn't settled. He hasn't found his peace. And there were some rumours today linking him with a move away or cutting the loan short, which I think the club would do straight away, but only if they had like another striking replacement, which isn't just a Dane Scarlett. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't have Richarlison's out, isn't he, for months, and then, you know, it's just Solanke, isn't it? Tell can play up front, right? So I'd like to see Tell play more number 9. I think that's.
He did it at Leeds when we won. He did it at Leeds when we won. Right, there's 180 of you watching us on various platforms, guys. If you like our content, you can see the little red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Please hit the subscribe button and give the channel a thumbs up, because it helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow, and it helps us bring you even better content. We pride ourselves in being very fact-based at Spurs Diehards. We've got a good link up with Cy and Phil here, who are with Project Spurs as well. So they're also with Projects. Phil, you can find at Frankfurt Spurs over here. So that link will stay on the video anyway. And you can find Phil and Cy when they're not over here. They're with Gary Ward and Callum on, who's part of our Spurs Diehards team as well. You can find them on Project Spurs. So get over to those shows as well, yeah? They'll give you good content. So, right, back to where we were. Yeah. Yes, Mwani. Not at the moment. I like the look of the player. When I've seen him, watch videos of him, I thought, God, this we can get him. That'll be good. We wanted him before we got him on loan this time, and he wouldn't come. Do you remember? He wouldn't come. And normally I'm like, you don't come the first time in spite. I don't want you normally, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, and we need to get a striker in. Yeah. So this was close. 73 minutes. Porro cut off. I thought he'd buried this, Romero. He needs to take it in practice. Joke, right? And then 78 minutes. This was the one Moani was through, shoots at the keeper, who saved with his legs. Gray can get spiteful. 86-minute run and set 2 yellow card.
That was good to see, to be fair, Adrian.
Yeah.
See that side of Archie Gray, like, where's that?
Birdwell can do it as well. I've seen him stick his foot in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he can, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Individual performances, right. I'll give you 6 here. I could have given any one of them, right? Porro, I thought back to his best, because he's been, I'm going to swear that he's been poor lately, right? And that's because we all think he's gassed because he's played about 1 million games. The guy's superhuman. Harry hasn't got injured, and please, not another injury. I don't know. Danso, solid. I want him to keep. I want him kept at this team and as a regular member of the squad.
Adrian, can I just say something about Danso? He's what I like about him. I think he knows, especially if Vuskovic comes back the close season, and then if we played a back three, it'd be Vuskovic, Romero, Van der Ven. I think Danso knows that he's not going to be a regular starter, but he's happy with that. He gives over the idea that he's happy to play second fiddle to these players, and he won't kick up a fuss. He won't disrupt the dressing room. He's just a proper top professional, I think.
I mean, I have the contracts players here because you get rumours in the media that love winding up Spurs fan base. I mean, all this like Mickey Van der Ven, not happy, wants to leave in the summer, won't sign a new contract and all that. Hang on. I watched the video of him on that overlap when he's being interviewed by, you couldn't have a player more in love with this football club. And especially the talk about shinned it to stop the goal going in and we win the Europa League. Apart from that, for any of you concerned, I've got the contracts of all the players, but his contract's not to 2029. So if Real Madrid, or if they've got the money, or Barcelona or Liverpool want to come, well, rumours were, really? How much did you pay for Van Dijk? Was it that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for him? Well, I'll tell you what, you're not getting Mickey Van der Ven for anything between 130 to 150 million, right? And that will keep any suitors at bay. And he's under contract for another 3 years, right? So after next year, if we're still in the same crap, which I don't expect us to have to play, and these teams need to get their centre backs in now. They can't afford to wait, right? So especially Liverpool.
It's just quickly. It's the same, if you work for a company, right? You got your job and you're working for a company. You got the bosses, you got the directors, you got the, your teammates and stuff, right? Work colleagues. If you're working in a bad environment, or if the management's not good and people are down, you're not selling enough, in your role, or you're not performing well enough, then you just automatically feel negative, don't you? And then that's when you maybe start about looking for a new job, or people might tap you up. And in the world of football, it's exactly the same. If you're in an underperforming team, which is losing a lot of football games, you are going to feel like that as well. And because you've got agents who basically run all of the stuff behind that and social media, it's normal that you get those things. As you said, if we get either a new manager who comes in, or, who knows if Frank manages to hang on and he improves things, and everyone's happy and we start winning more games than we're losing, then of course it just changes straight away, doesn't it? Like, winning makes you feel good and feel happy. And I don't think Mickey Van der Ven's wants to desperately leave.
No.
But I could imagine that, if we're losing all these games, and if his agent's telling him, oh, do you know what, Real have inquired and Liverpool have inquired, they want you to be the new Van Dijk there. He's going to feel flattered, isn't he? He's going to feel good about that, So it's all this stuff happening.
Yeah, I don't see Spurs selling a player like VDV. No manager that comes in, whether it's Frank or not, is going to want to get rid of him. And I don't see Spurs selling to one of their rivals.
No.
I mean, if it eventually goes, it'll be abroad, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Probably to Spain.
Yeah, it will be.
PSG have got the money. We know that somehow Real Madrid and Barcelona find the money, but their skin, even I don't think even Bayern could stretch the amount of money that he'd go for.
No, they wouldn't spend that much on him anyway. They wouldn't spend that money.
It's not happening. If you had to pick a man of the match, guys, I mean, it was a very good team performance. I know the second half didn't set the world alight. I think we were just being cautious to see the game out after all our poor results recently. Kev, who are you picking out of these?
Well, I voted on the Spurs website last night, Romero, just for his overall game. If anyone's listening to me first, I can be quite critical of Romero. I think he slows the game down much too much. Especially when we're 2-0 down or 1-0 down, he spends five minutes on the ball deciding where he's going to pass it. But he was a bit better last night with that. He still did it a few times, but of course his goal set us off running, and he had a pretty dominant game in the middle of the pitch with headers and whatever, and he was the captain. So I went for Romero.
Si, who would you pick?
I'd pick Xavi Simons for me. He just looked involved in everything. It was probably, I would say, maybe his best performance in a Spurs shirt so far. He does seem to play better for us when we are in Europe than in the Premier League, possibly because he's got more time on the ball. As soon as he can get accustomed to the Premier League, the better. But yeah, I mean, he was all over, creating, had a few chances himself. He just looked really dangerous. I mean, obviously you three were at the game. I was watching it on TV. They awarded Pedro Porro man of the match on TV. So, but yeah, in my eyes, Xavi Simons gets my vote.
Yeah, the Spurs website gave it to Simons. Well, all the votes went to Simons from the fan base.
You usually find with fan bases they pick the sexier player, don't they? You know, they always do that when it comes to votes. Phil, who did you pick?
I agree with Basai. I mean, for me, it was definitely Xavi in the end. If only because I think that was his best game for Spurs, to be honest, in terms of, getting on the ball, and making stuff happen. He didn't lose the ball either. He's had games this season where he's misplaced passes, he's looked frustrated. He was loving it. He was loving it last night. You could see he was playing like with a massive smile on his face.
I love his attitude. Themselves, I love their attitude when players.
And in the second, obviously he was great in the first half, but in that second half, the pass for Muani's chance was wonderful. That little slide, little progressive forward slide rule pass through was like wow, and what was interesting, because we were playing a bit deeper in the second half, right? He was closer to the midfield and he picked the ball up quite often, quite deep. But he just, he did that little trick to get past the thing, and he just dribbled up the field, and that's what we've been missing. And he was loving it. So for me, definitely Xavi. Just an honourable mention, because you didn't put him on there, and I know you said you could have put more on there, but I thought that obviously Spence was outstanding in a role that he's obviously never played before. We probably never thought he would play left wing or kind of, I guess he's left wing back, but he was so advanced. He beat his man every time. He was running around. He didn't lose the ball. His attitude was good, like solid. And Udogie, like just a little shout out for Udogie as well, because he also played a role which he doesn't really play, left centre back, but he didn't make a mistake. He got involved, the whole team played well, really. Probably the weak point was, if anything, was Vicario in the game, because there was a couple of moments as well where
one he tipped over. Nothing else.
And to be fair to him, that save that he made,
it's good.
It was a good save from the header, but I would honestly expect any Premier League goalkeeper to make that. You'd expect your keeper to make. If your keeper's not saving that, you'd have question marks. But it was a good save. But I think you'd expect him to save it. But it's Xavi.
I'm gonna give it a player who needs it. I'm gonna give it to Odegaard. I think it was the best game he's had in the Spurs shirt. And like you say, all these were deserving, and probably I could have added the whole team. But it was good to see that from Odegaard, and I want to see more of it. I don't want to see one off like that. If he wants to keep his place in this team, which he's got, he's probably obviously going to start against Burnley away, because and maybe we'll see the same team again, barring when Conor Gallagher will come in for Bergvall, probably. I mean, but we'll talk about that Friday. So game management, Frank got it right. Yeah. Got to give him credit if he gets it right.
Yeah, I mean, his hand was forced to a certain degree. Bergvall had to come off. Obviously, Solanke was never going to last the whole game, and but I suppose the team in the first half there was a lot of movement, a lot of running about, and I suppose they were conserving. It might have been they were told, right, I haven't got the bench here. You got to conserve your energy a bit in the second half, and that might be why they were sitting a bit deeper in the whole of that second half. So so that management was okay. So he didn't have to do a lot really, Frank, in terms of game management because he didn't have the substitutes to bring on and move it around. But obviously moving Porro into the middle probably was a good move in the end because he was still full of energy and running around. So when Byfield came on, so you got to say he did okay. What I did notice though throughout the game was I know it was absolutely hissing down with rain. He didn't spend a lot of time in the technical area. He was sitting down on the bench quite a lot, Frank. Occasionally he came out, but he didn't. He wasn't standing where he usually does all of the match. But it might just be because it was raining.
Well, there's only a couple of banners to finish with. We'll go for about another 5 minutes. I know you all got work and everything, right?
Yeah.
Stats: possession 54% to 46, shots on target 5-1. We actually had 16 shots to their 6. 4 of ours were blocked to 1 of theirs. Corners 4-2. Clearances were pretty even. Interceptions, same. Passes, crosses, because we let them have the ball really. Crosses, 15 tackles, fouls, aerial duels. Yeah, I mean, in the second half, like Si alluded to earlier, I thought if we'd have gone for it, if you're doing a high press, you go man for man. You've got spare men. They've got one less than us. I think we'd have buried them. But I get the caution. So, the last thing we'll do today, before I put out the banners for you guys again, where we can find you all. Burnley away. It's Sunday, isn't it? Not Saturday, isn't it?
No, Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Saturday, 3 o'clock.
3 p.m.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. No, because I put the banner up for Sunday. That's what's in my head. Right, okay. Yeah, so Burnley away. This was a great result, but this is a must-win, guys, isn't it?
Got to build on it. There's no other way. We've got to go at Burnley from the off. I don't think we're going to play as high a line as what Dortmund did, obviously. The odds are they're going to sit back a bit more, even though they're at home. But, they're not the Burnley of old when Sean Dyche was the manager. Scott Parker's the manager. They like to play the ball with the ball on the pitch, down on the ground, knock it about. So, on paper, we should win it. We need to win it. But, this will definitely be the game to decide whether or not that win against Dortmund has helped us turn a slight corner or a slight bend or something like that.
They've picked up some points recently, Phil, which might disturb us a bit. They got a draw at Anfield, didn't they?
Yeah, but maybe we'll be like Dr. Tottenham, but in a positive way, for a change. So they've been on good form. In the league, we've been pretty rubbish. You never know. I don't really know. I got to be honest. I haven't really I haven't watched much of Burnley, this season in terms of how they've played. Save for, seeing some highlights on Match of the Day or something. So I can't. I honestly don't even know half of their team. Like if I'm being really honest, I know they've got that.
I know that.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
they've got that ex-Spurs player that did he go to Holland, the Netherlands, and
Raimondo.
Pochettino said he was like Messi.
Oh yeah,
Marcus
Edwards. Yeah.
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 Does he play? Does he get games for them? Actually, does he play regularly so far?
No, I think he's on the bench a lot at the moment. He did when he first joined, but he's on the bench more now.
He's a luxury for them when you're struggling. So while we're with you, Phil, Frankfurt, how are they doing in Germany? I don't know how they're doing.
Well, they've
sacked the manager.
They sacked the manager last week. And they're 7th or 8th still in the league. They're not that far off European qualification, but the old manager, he couldn't get their defence sorted this season. Obviously, he lost all their attacking talent, didn't they? They lost Marmoush, Ekatike. So, to be fair to the manager a bit, like, he probably hasn't been backed enough, I would say, like in the...
Sounds familiar.
Exactly. But Frankfurt and Spurs they're quite similar anyway, right? In terms of, like, they threaten to do great things, and then something happens, and then they turn into this thing. But no, they're without a manager, right? And I didn't watch it, but I saw that they've lost tonight to Karabag, which means they're out of the Champions League, so they can't qualify. They're without a permanent manager. They're not going to hire a manager. Well, they might do, actually. Apparently, the favourite is a guy called Marco Rose, who was the Leipzig manager, Red Bull, Dortmund manager as well. Actually, quite progressive, like Jurgen Klopp-y pressing kind of play, It'd be a good fit for Frankfurt, but I doubt he's going to get appointed before next week. So they've got a few injuries as well. Like, their keeper's their keeping situation's probably worse than ours, and that's saying something in terms of, like, questioning their first choice. They don't even have a second choice. So look, I mean, it's all about Bundesliga now and saving the season for them, right? Getting some kind of European qualification where you bear in mind, if you look at the rest of the teams, Frankfurt should be getting that. Next week, I think, honestly, bearing in mind how bad Frankfurt's defense has been, like really bad, we need to approach that game not like last season, where Ange actually, for the first time, played quite defensively, which was, I think, down to the players, wasn't it? More like that was when Van der Ven and Romero went to him, wasn't it, before that? But hey, they did it and they won. But we need to approach that game on Tuesday like we approached this game yesterday in the first half. We need to go after Frankfurt. We need to press them hard. We need to open that game with power and pressing. If we do that, we'll win that game. I'm sure of it.
Following the games tonight, we're fifth on 14 points. There are 8 teams on 13 points below us. A draw would drop us down into about 11th place. A win will keep us in 5th or 6th. So we've got to go for the win. Really.
Yeah, if you finish, they didn't last year when we finished about 3rd in Europa League. But have they seeded the teams this year?
Yeah, no. What they do is because Arsenal moaned about it last year. If you remember, what they're saying is that the top 8, when it gets to the round of 16, will play the away legs second. So it doesn't matter how you draw them out of the hat. The top 8 will always be second, and then it'll be the top 4. So the seeds will get their the home leg second, basically, as they go through. But if we get through, if we get through to the round of 16, the next 8 top teams, there's some big teams in there. I mean, Dortmund are still in there as well. They've got a chance of qualifying still into that because they'll be in the top 16 probably. So there's some big teams. I mean, the only English team not in the top 8 at the moment is City. And they're sitting there on the 13 points.
Kev, do you know if you can actually have an English team versus an English team in the first round of the knockout? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, as soon as you get to the 16, you can be drawn against anyone, I think, now. So we could play anyone.
League games, though, guys. I mean, like, there's been a lot of talk on podcasts. Oh, look at these hard set of fixtures: Man City, Man United, Newcastle, and Arsenal. But 3 of those games are at home. I mean, surely we're going to pick up points. I mean, in theory, you could lose all those games. It doesn't mean to say. I mean, but I'm expecting us to pick up points.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adrian. Those are the type of games where our players usually turn up. Do you know what I mean? And put on a performance.
And they're more open as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I fancy we'll get something out of a couple of those games. I really do. It's always the games against, and I think it's always been an issue with Spurs, definitely the past few years. It's the so-called, no disrespect to them, but the so-called smaller clubs we seem to struggle against that sit back, whereas these teams that attack us, you know, we seem to, when the game's a lot more open, we seem to do better, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyone else got a comment on these games before we finish? No? Right, okay. Well, we'll end it there then, guys. But before we go, obviously, 209 of you viewing us on various platforms. Like I said earlier to those, if you weren't here before, if you like our content, please hit that red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner and give the videos a thumbs up, because it helps the algorithm and helps us bring you more content. We pride ourselves on being very fact-based here. You can find us all here, and you can find us actually, you can find Phil here from Frankfurt Spurs, and you can find Signed Phil over at Project Spurs as well. So get over to those two as well, please. They'll bring you excellent content, and you can obviously find them here, the regular guests and friends of the show. And Kev, you can find with me in a South Stand fan zone before games, home games, and under the stairs in the goal line bar after the game, right? Anyone wants to meet us is more than welcome to do so. Right, so with that, like I say, I want to thank my guests. And look, just going to go and see if there's any more in the chat. Any more? No more comments in the chat. So I want to thank my guests, and I'll play you out this bit of soul music. So, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs.
Yay.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. Navy blue.